Picture this. You walk through the front door after a long day, and before you've even set your bag down, your dog is already there, tail going 100 miles an hour, nose nudging your hand, and then that warm, familiar feeling of their tongue on your skin. You smile, you say okay, I missed you too, and you move on with your evening. And in that moment, without even realizing it, you just completely misread your dog. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going deep, and I mean really deep, into one of the most misunderstood behaviors in the entire dog world, licking. Because what most of us think of as a simple little sign of affection is actually one of the richest, most layered forms of communication your dog has in their entire vocabulary. And once you understand what's really going on, I promise you, you will never look at a lick the same way again. Let's start at the very beginning. And I mean the very, very beginning, the first moments of a dog's life. When a puppy is born, they cannot regulate their own body temperature. They cannot go to the bathroom on their own. They cannot even see or hear the world around them. The very first sensation that enters their awareness, before sight, before sound, before anything else, is their mother's tongue on their skin. That licking is what stimulates their breathing. It's what cleans them. It's what signals, you are here, you are safe, you are loved. Licking is not something dogs learn to enjoy. It is wired into them from the moment they enter the world as the physical language of security itself. So when your adult dog crawls up next to you on the couch and gives you those long, slow, gentle licks while their body is completely relaxed, what they are doing is not just being cute. They are reaching back into the oldest part of their instinct and saying, "You are my safe place. You are my family. Everything is okay." That's not nothing. That is one of the most sincere things another living creature can communicate to you. But here's where it gets even more fascinating, because licking isn't just about emotion. It's also about information, a remarkable amount of it. Think about everything your hands touch in a single day. Your car door, your keyboard, your lunch, a stranger's handshake, the soil in your garden, the grocery cart handle. Every single one of those interactions leaves a chemical trace on your skin, microscopic particles of the world you moved through. And to you, your hands probably just smell like hands. But to your dog, who has a nose somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 times more sensitive than yours depending on the breed, your hands are basically a detailed report of your entire day. When your dog licks you after you've been out, they are reading that report. They're learning where you went, what you touched, who you might have been near, even how stressed or relaxed you were based on the cortisol levels in your sweat. It is genuinely astonishing when you sit with that for a moment. They are not licking you for the taste, though let's be honest, the salt probably doesn't hurt. They are scanning you. Gathering data. Building a picture. Your skin is a document, and their tongue is the reader. Now this brings us to something that a lot of dog owners don't know, and honestly I think it's one of the most important things we'll talk about today. Not every lick is a happy lick. Some licks are actually a form of social diplomacy. In the world of canine body language, licking, particularly licking directed at another individual, can serve as what behaviorists call an appeasement gesture. And what that means is this: if your dog comes up to you and licks you while their ears are back, their body is slightly lowered or tense, and they're not making full eye contact, they are not asking for more attention. They are actually telling you they feel a little crowded or a little overwhelmed, and they are using licking as a way to keep the peace. It's the dog equivalent of someone nervously laughing at a joke that made them uncomfortable. The behavior looks friendly on the surface, but underneath, the message is, "I'm not entirely comfortable right now, please give me a little space." This is why context matters so much. The same behavior, a lick, can mean something completely different depending on the body language surrounding it. A relaxed, wiggly dog licking you is joy. A tense, low dog licking you is a request. Learning to tell the difference is one of the most valuable skills you can develop as a dog owner. Let's talk about self-soothing, because this is another layer that is really worth understanding. Licking, it turns out, has a physiological effect on dogs. The act itself triggers the release of endorphins and other feel-good hormones that help regulate their emotional state. So when something stressful happens, you're putting on your shoes and your dog knows you're about to leave, or the doorbell rings and strangers arrive, or there's a thunderstorm rolling in, your dog might come to you and start licking. Not because they're seeking information, not because it's a greeting, but because you are their anchor. You are the thing in their world that most reliably makes them feel safe. And the physical act of licking you, making contact with you, actually helps their nervous system settle down. You are their coping mechanism. Think about that. In your dog's emotional toolkit, you are the strategy they reach for when the world feels like too much. That's a profound kind of trust, and this brings us to health, because licking also gives us some of our clearest windows into what's going on inside a dog's body and mind. There are two things worth paying close attention to here. The first is when your dog becomes fixated on licking a very specific area of your skin, the same spot on your arm, the same part of your leg, over and over, with what feels like unusual intensity or urgency. Dogs have been documented detecting changes in human body chemistry that correspond to health changes, sometimes even before the person themselves has noticed any symptoms. Now, this is not to say that every time your dog licks your elbow something dramatic is happening. But if the behavior is new, persistent, and focused on one specific area, it is worth paying attention to and worth mentioning to your doctor, simply as one data point. Dogs notice things our own biology is still catching up to. The second thing to watch for is compulsive, rhythmic licking that isn't directed at you or another living being but at themselves, at furniture, at the floor, even at the air. This kind of licking, when it's repetitive, when it seems impossible to interrupt, when it goes on, is often the body's way of expressing distress from the inside out. It can be a sign of nausea, of acid reflux, of dental pain, of anxiety that has nowhere else to go. If you're seeing this in your dog, it's worth a conversation with your vet, because treating it as a quirk or a habit misses what's actually being communicated. Now let's bring it back to something a little more everyday, because I also want to talk about where dogs tend to lick, because that location actually tells you quite a bit about their intention. Face licking, that enthusiastic, full-on, tongue across the nose greeting, is almost always an expression of high emotional attachment and genuine reunion energy. It's the equivalent of a running hug. There's not much investigative purpose in face licking. It's pure feeling. Hand licking, on the other hand, tends to be more measured, more deliberate. Hands are the most information-rich part of the human body from a dog's perspective, so licking hands is usually more about investigation than pure affection. It doesn't mean your dog loves your hands more than your face. It means your hands are where the story lives. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The next time your dog licks you, instead of just accepting it as a sweet little moment and moving on, take 3 seconds and ask yourself a few questions. What is the rest of their body doing? Are they relaxed or tense? What's happening around them right now? Is this a greeting, or is something stressing them out? Where are they focused, and is this behavior new or different in some way? Because the lick itself is only part of the sentence. The full meaning lives in everything surrounding it, the timing, the context, the frequency, the body language that frames it. Your dog is talking to you constantly. Not in words, but in a language that is just as nuanced, just as layered, and honestly just as beautiful as any language we've ever developed. They just need you to be willing to listen in a slightly different way. That's what this channel is about. Not just the cute moments, though there are plenty of those, but the real relationship underneath them. The one where you and your dog are genuinely trying to understand each other. Thanks so much for spending this time with us today. If this gave you a new way of seeing your dog, share it with someone who loves their dog just as much as you love yours. And we'll see you in the next one.